So hello guys, it's your friend Anni here and welcome to this today's little education corner video. So today we're gonna learn how porn can actually change the brain. And if you are new to my channel is support channel for all the caffeine addicts out there, and I give peer support for all the recovering caffeine addicts. And I speak about post-acute withdrawals, and I share information about the neuroplasticity and how brain can change during the addiction. But then you also have been hoping me to talk about porn, that I would talk about porn addiction and share information about how porn can affect your brain and your health and mood and all that. So we're gonna today learn a little bit new stuff. Or it can be new for you if you don't know this, but this is the really good website, so I will link this website below if you are interested to learn more what porn does to your brain. So how porn can change the brain? Because of neuroplasticity, our brain constantly changes in healthy ways that help us learn and complete tasks more efficiently. Yet, supernormal stimuli, such as porn, can trigger measurable changes that can influence our lives in unhealthy ways. We all heard the phrase, "it's just like riding a bike." That phrase is supposed to remind us that our old skills are never more than a few minutes of practice away. Indeed, if you ever geared up for the ride after many bikeless years of picking up an old musical instrument, you know that beneath all of that awkwardness and rust, your old skills are waiting there, locked in your so-called muscle memory, waiting to be dusted off and taken for a spin. But how does this actually work? Why can we pick up old skill after such a little practice? It stems from the brain's remarkable ability to change itself, known as neuroplasticity. Neuroplasticity, the amazing plastic brain. At its most basic level, neuroplasticity refers to the brain's ability to change. When you learned to ride a bike, your brain didn't just logically process the steps involved in riding a bike. Your brain literally, physically changed itself into a brain built for a bike riding. Like a Play-Doh, it can mold and shape itself as it responds to outside forces and experiences. How cool is that? That is really cool information about our brain. So, when we engage in activity, particularly a pleasurable activity, particularly if it involves repetition and intense focus, our brain after themselves to be better and more efficient at doing that activity the next time. So our brain creates what are known as neural pathways. The more we engage in activity, the stronger the pathways associated with that activity become. Once formed, those pathways can become remarkably long-lasting and resilient. Pathways neglected or ignored, even for years, are still there. Yep, ready to be revitalized. Hence the saying, it's like riding a bike. So there what that phrase come. Okay. So delta phos B, the chemical with the catchy name. What is that? Let's see. But what is a brain pathway? Is some little road crew clearing brush and blazing trails in your brain? Yes, kind of. What's doing the trailblazing work in your brain is a little crew of brain chemicals, one of which is delta phos B. Your brain is made up of neurons that communicate with each other through synapses. Delta phos B is one of the chemicals that creates neural circuits. i.e. pathways, to help those neurons to communicate more quickly and efficiently. Sorry about my English, it's a little bit bad, but let's move on. Basically, what you experience as getting better and better at something is your brain rewiring itself to become faster and more efficient and sending the same messages between the same neurons. As we said, this process is greatly accelerated when you engage in something pleasurable that entails a lot of repetition and a high degree of focus, a state sometimes referred to as being flow, which is just a way of indicating that you are not just learning something, you are highly focused on something and you are enjoying the experience of being highly focused. We all know that flow state, how good that is feeling. When we are in the moment, we are just doing something, we don't care anything else that is happening around us, and we are just in that flow state. That's so cool. But then, when you learning to play your favorite song on the guitar, practicing your jump shot, or perfecting that TikTok dance, the chemicals in your brain are hard at work reinforcing those pathways. Unfortunately, the same process of neuroplasticity happens when you practice unhealthy behaviors too. Yes. Throughout our Get the Facts articles, we discussed the pathway pornography can be considered addictive, how consuming porn can lead to compulsive cravings and behavior in some cases similar to those associated with the substance abuse. So we also discussed how the brain changes about the role of dopamine and how the reward centers can be hijacked. In this article, we are taking a closer look at another aspect of the rewiring that occurs when we look at porn, and that's going to require us to learn another term from brain science, supernormal stimulus. This is really good website. Like, thank you for sharing me this, because I'm also learning throughout this. So, supernormal. On its surface, supernormal is at the very least an oxymoron, and perhaps also the name of some very vanilla superhero who wears a lot of beige. Supernormal stimulus sounds like a good phrase to describe your parents' favorite radio station or a bran muffin, but the meaning is the opposite. And that name makes perfect sense. Supernormal refers to an exaggerated, i.e. super version or amount of a normal thing, and was coined by a researcher named Nicolas Tinbergen. In his most famous experiment, Tinbergen tested whether overwhelming a specific stimulus could change behavior. He created cardboard construction of butterflies attracted to their masters by a color and movement. He then painted 3 cardboard butterflies with more intense coloring and designed the cutouts to move more regularly. When male butterflies were introduced to the cardboard, they did indeed try to mate with the fakes. Even with actual female butterflies introduced at the same area, the male butterflies continued to ignore them. They continued to prefer the intensely colored, regular moving cardboard butterflies, even with living, breeding females close by. Wow, and what does that mean when it comes to porn? Tinbergen showed that when there is pre-programmed biological reaction to a particular stimulus, that stimulus can be overwhelmed and warped by artificial means. And just like butterflies, human brains have built-in psychological response to certain stimuli. We feel hunger when we see food, feel sympathetic and protective over things that appear helpless and small. We are drawn to certain physical traits we consider attractive. None of this is new information. Advertisers and filmmakers have understood it for years. It's the science behind your favorite photographs, illustrations, and movies. This explains why they appeal you with such a power. But remember, the fact that the butterflies were drawn to the fakes is only half of Tinbergen's experiment. The second half is scary part. Even with the real female butterflies introduced in the environment, the male persisted in the attempting to mate with the cardboard decoys. Just like the butterflies, if something artificially overwhelms one of these stimuli consistently, all our expectations will change. It isn't just that our brain prefers the supernormal stimulus, they can change themselves to expect it, and the old normal stimulus, as known as real life, suddenly seems less attractive by comparison. Have you ever been bored by an action movie from 50 years ago, or been surprised that something was considered beautiful in another time? If you ever participate in a classroom discussion about how media can negatively impact our expectation around body image, chances are you were discussing supernormal stimuli without even realizing it. Our brain changes themselves. Indeed. Our expectation responses and preferences can adapt to exaggerate. This is the word that I cannot really pronounce. Stimuli. This leads to decreased interest of boredom with things that once seemed more exciting. Similarly, pornography can shape how we view sexual situation by overwhelming our brain's natural processes. It can take our brain natural stimuli, our desire for intimacy and connection, our longing to feel solid, desirable in our relationships, our interest in a particular feature of activity, and give us more quantity, more exaggerated and more supernormal versions of that thing until it can override what we think is normal, wrap what we perceive as exciting, and make real intimacy seems less interesting by comparison. And this is really sad thing that can happen for many people who are watching porn. They don't enjoy anymore like that normal intimacy. And it can really change how they behavior and their sex life. That's why the Dr. Simon Kuhn and Jürgen Gallinat say that pornography affects the brain through an intense stimulation of our reward system, ultimately making pornography consumption more rewarding. Like it or not, porn consumption entails pleasure, focus, and repetition. These factors create the perfect condition for the delta FOSB build-up and the formation of long-lasting pathways in the brain. It can also provide an overabundance of supernormal stimuli that can completely rewire what we find arousing and what we desire and expect from sexual intimacy. These changes in our expectation can have tremendous implications for how we view others and how we view relationships. Like riding a bike, these pathways can be resilient and difficult to rewire, but hope remains. Research and many experiences demonstrate that individuals can manage and mostly reverse the harmful effects of porn. In fact, even in cases of serious drug and other addiction, research shows that the brain can heal over time with sustained effort. And that is what my channel is all about. You can heal. Whatever addiction you are having, your brain can heal. That is really beautiful. Researchers also indicates that while guilt can motivate healthy change, shame actually fuels problematic porn habits. So if you are trying to give up porn, be kind to yourself. Yes, guys, be kind to yourself and be patient with your progress. Like anything, it takes time to brain to recover. Time and patience, like I always say. However, daily efforts make a big difference in the long run. Think of it like a muscle that gets bigger and stronger the more you use it. The longer you stay away from porn, the easier it is to do. All it takes is practice. And then I'm really recommending you to like watch what is out there in this website if you need this kind of support. And guys, always keep it up and just know you got this good, and see you in next videos. Bye.